Hey, everybody. My name is Joe Hoskins, and I'm a researcher explorer, and I've spent 20 years in the Appalachian Mountains roaming through there and finding all kinds of different crazy discoveries. And one of the things I found are pyramids, and some of the things I found are some really amazing archaeology, and they seem to be things that relate to giants. So today we're going to talk to my friend Ethan, who had an amazing experience, and we're going to hear him tell his story today of what happened to him while he was vacationing. And he just happened to have this amazing encounter. And what we'd like to do today is just hear the story of what happened, because I can tell you, I've heard this story and it is absolutely fascinating. So we hope you'll stay with us, and I'm going to turn it over to Ethan and let him give you his part of this amazing story.
Hello, everyone. Of course, I'm Ethan Oates, and I have uh, um, done a lot of things in my time. I've been a TV actor, comedy actor, an adult entertainer, um, and I used to I was a really popular adult entertainer and made a lot of money. And I used to like to take my money, and I still get money from being an entertainer. I take my money, and I used to like to spoil myself, go places, Hawaii until it burns. Just, do fun things and spoil myself, buy fur coats. I was into gold, buying diamonds all the time. Flashy, live the life up. And so I recently, a friend of mine wanted to go on a vacation. So I recently went to Salem's Island, and it was her idea, a friend of mine. And so I thought, oh, tropical island. She showed me ads on it. Beautiful, just, I mean, beautiful. So I thought, oh my gosh, this is gonna be like, hey, I'm going, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I was like, okay. So my friend and her girlfriend, and me, went to Salem's Island. So it was long flights. Um, I'm just trying to get into all the major details so you can kind of know. And when we got to Guatemala, uh, that was pretty cool. I started to feel like, yes, we're getting there, but it was just so long of a trip. And
Right.
then we went from Guatemala to Salem's Island. After we got to Salem's Island, we were in a town area, which was really congested. My friend did not want to stay in that town. She wanted to go further down the island, get some privacy, be able to go nude on the beach if that's what she wanted. Um, so I agreed. I'm like, yeah, let's go further down the island. I don't want to stay in a motel and, right here in the city part of it. And no, I don't want that. So I was like, yeah. And so she chartered a boat to take us down, and they dropped us off halfway down the island. And when we approached where we were, it was a village, and the village was really cool. Uh, they had houses that they built, but they were above the ground. I guess that's for in case it floods or whatever, but they were held
Yeah,
up. You could walk under them and stuff.
it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I figured, and it was really cool. And I'm trying to get to the point real quick without getting into all the details. It was really cool. So I found when I got there, I found the tribe very interesting. I'm interested in a lot of cultures. I have native in my family. I try to learn a lot about cultures. They interest me.
Yeah.
So I started asking a lot of questions. The tribal people there were wonderful. They were trying to feed us. My friend's girlfriend, of course, she didn't want nothing they were eating at all. So
So even though
I would try
so even
certain
though
things.
you show up from America, but they're very receptive of you here so far. So that's awesome.
Very nice. Trying to put flowers all over us when we got there. Touch look at what you got on. One girl had some kind of belt thing on, and they kept trying to jingle with it because it had a lot of colorful like rubies shiny on it, and they were trying to, what is that, I think, and touch it, or
Fascinating
yeah, they
jewelry
were
or
fascinated by it. so
interesting.
so it was very cool. It was like, wow, these people are fascinated about us, we're fascinated about them, or at least I was fascinated about them. My friend seemed like she was. Her girlfriend was kind of like, ooh, she didn't even want to stay there. So when we got dropped off there, um, we got dropped off, and our plans were to get picked back up 2 days later at a certain time.
Right.
Other than that, there's no way to contact that boat. We had no way to contact the way to go back. We're stuck there for 2 days. So her friend starts getting all, I don't want their food. And, she more or less would have wanted to stay in the motel. I'll just put it that way.
Right. Understand.
So,
But
yeah.
yeah,
And, to me, going in a tribal village is awesome. It's like going
yeah,
camping.
man.
You know what I
Learning
mean?
experience there.
Yeah, it's
101.
cool. So, to my friend, it seemed that way. And so at that point, her friend went to go to the bathroom, and she came back, and she was real kind of like shaky and gibberish. And we're looking at her like, what happened?
Yeah, yeah.
And she is like, there's a skull out there. And we're like, a
Oh,
skull? And she's like, there's a couple of them. And so my friend gets up with her. They walk back over towards the woods. They come back all, look, whoa, whoa, whoa.
right,
So at that point, there's a fire going. We're all around the fire. The chief of the village comes down. He's hanging out at the fire, greets us, meets us. Wonderful man. Um, Very intelligent. When you conversate with him, there's no joking. He's straight up, and he's just intelligent.
yeah,
So we're sitting there, and she's shaking. He notices something's going on because she's all like, jittery. Um,
yeah,
and they're like, women can be, they'll start telling each other
right,
back and forth. So he notices something's going on. He asked her something about what was wrong, or oh
right,
man. And then she turned and said that there's skulls out there. And
right.
he looked at her and shook his head, yeah. And he asked her, are you going to the bathroom out there, or are you just wandering? And with that, she said that she was going to the bathroom. And he said, no,
Right.
don't go out there no more. Don't wander out there. Don't go out there to go to the bathroom. And nobody does that. No, no, nobody. And
Yeah, some golden advice from the
yeah,
chief there sounds like to me.
yeah.
Yeah,
So at that point, we're like, why? What's going on? And my friend's girlfriend they're both women. And
yeah.
she's getting really nervous and scared. She don't want to stay there. She's almost in tears in front of everybody.
He's
So
visibly shook up, right? There's
yeah,
no
so
hiding that, right?
yeah, so I'm starting to ask him questions about the skulls. He told me that uh usually people that come there, tourists, are lied to about the skull, because the skull is out there to warn uh to the skull is out there because the jungle is alive, and it's out there to warn the giants away.
So he told you
So at
that's
that
out of
point,
his mouth.
yeah, at that point we were like, huh, what? And
Yeah.
I said, giants. And he said, yeah. He said, the king of Solomon was once a giant. And I said, the king of Solomon Island? You had a king here? And he said, yeah, he
Yeah.
was a giant before. And I said,
Uh,
okay. And he started telling me that uh, there's no more headhunters like people think.
right.
Headhunters used to be back in the day. The island was crazy. Everyone was eating everyone, he told me. And he told me that his father got murdered by headhunters. And his father was the chief of the village at one time. Well, the headhunters aren't like that no more there. They still remain to talk of the headhunters because they want to keep people from going in the jungle.
Sounds like a fantastic idea there because what the picture painted there is there's some danger in the jungle that the locals know about. And boy, if you don't, you've made a mistake. So it sounds like a fantastic time to listen to them. So it's interesting that the chief brought it up, though. You know, I think you pointed out to me earlier when I talked to you that this is not an okay subject among the people as far as a common people. It's the commoners or the villagers. They really don't talk about the giants, but because the chief brought it up, it made it okay to talk about this subject. Is what I was hearing from you up
Yes, I found that out later, and that info you're talking that I've talked to you and told you, I found that out later that the chief told me that no one talks of the giants.
there. Yeah,
It's forbidden.
it's a
That
taboo subject.
on the
Exactly. Yeah.
island it's forbidden. And if somebody was to tell you about it or talk about it, he would have to be a chief.
Right.
And that chief is still putting himself on the line for talking about it
Right.
because the Salem's Island, possibly
A
the
lot of yeah.
government or whoever runs the island, that's forbidden, is
Of
what he
course,
told
you
me.
know, it shouldn't be lost on folks that this subject here is that like nowhere is this subject embraced really that I've ever seen, other than a few brave researchers, and we can name them, and there's some awesome researchers, but there's only a few people bold enough to step out and you know stand on this subject and do work, and that's what we're ready to do. But I can't wait to hear the rest of this story, sir.
So at that point, my friend's girlfriend is she's shaked up. She
Yeah,
I'll walk. You ain't gonna
right.
walk, you know. Um, she don't want to be there no more. And I'm like, okay, so it's kind of like a scary, probably story to
All
me,
this is just a
Yeah,
little too much
she don't
Scooby
want to
Doo
stay
for
there.
her, isn't it? Yeah.
The people are wonderful. They've been wonderful all through the day into the evening. There's not. They were so hospitality, man. It was like we were stars. They
Yeah.
treated us like we were a star.
Wow.
It was catered to us. Everything, man. Are
Yeah.
coming to see if we need anything. Um, so she was scared. At that point, my girlfriend, was talking about going laying down. Well, I was interested in these giants at that point from what the
Right.
chief was talking about. So the chief starts telling me there's a tribal female that disappeared for over 10 years, came back pregnant, and she was pregnant with a part giant baby, and that
Wow.
she had the baby and they killed the baby. And I was like, well, why would they? I'm the kind of guy who would just I'm get interest and I'm going to ask you. So I'm like, well, why would they kill the baby? I'm thinking, wow,
Right.
that's amazing. Why would they kill the baby?
Right.
And he said that they didn't want to intertwine with the giants.
Right.
They didn't want the giants to take over.
In other words, this is a hybrid creature, and this is probably something maybe that they're not okay with, or they know what'll happen when you let that
Yes,
go on.
yes.
Sounds like to me.
Yes.
And so they kind of have a policy maybe there. And that sounds cruel, but we're talking about a creature that is not, this is not a human. These are hybrid creatures. And that's a little hurdle to jump over. But please continue your story, sir. I'm fascinated.
So at that point, I'm so interested, man. I'm
All
like,
right.
this is a chief of this village. He's telling me all this stuff. That would be like, what, your governor, your mayor, or your president telling you something. It's like,
Right. The boss
yeah, and not
walking up
lying
telling
to
you
you.
this amazing fact. That's pretty cool, man.
So he tells me that there's four different giants that he knows of that he personally seen. And there's some kind of giant bird like creature that he's seen.
Wow.
I started asking him, well, you seen
So
him?
he's describing a
Yeah,
giant creature,
he
not
tells
just a
me
just a
there's a
giant monster creature. Like there's a creature here, a giant bird,
yes.
obviously.
He tells me there's
Okay.
a little 3 foot hairy guy who runs around. They call it Chupacabra. I guess that's what we call it, whatever. He had another name they called it, and I said, "Is it like a Chupacabra?" He said, "Yes." Then he told me that there's a hairy one that is real mean, likes to breed, and not smart, but real mean, likes to breed, and likes to eat.
What size is this hairy one he's
He wasn't
describing?
sure,
Uh huh.
was not sure.
So first he
He
describes a
said
small
that
creature,
he
and
knows
now
of
this is a
them.
new creature
He said
describing,
he
right?
knew of that hairy creature giant to get up to 30 feet, is what he estimated of what he's seen with his own eyes.
So
Um,
clearly not Bigfoot, something much bigger.
yeah.
There's a
But by the
nugget
way he
right
tells me
there.
about the way he told me the story, it seemed uh like it could be a Bigfoot because
Right.
he also told me that that creature can disappear.
This again, speaking to what we're talking about, is a hybrid creature. And when you say, "Oh, big deal," so it's a hybrid creature.
Yes.
Well, it's hybrid with one of these creatures. Is the fathers of these things are fallen angels, and they have power and they have ability. Like we can't understand how something can disappear. But here's a newsflash: angels can disappear. So if angels can disappear, fallen angels can disappear. This is simply an attribute of these beings. And what they did is they disobeyed and created this creature, which is called the Nephilim, which ends up being giants, and it can split off into all these different forms. But what you end up with here is really a real grab bag of some stuff that's just wholesome is not a word you'd use to describe them. I'll put it that way. I'll turn it back to you, sir.
So at that point, I asked him, "Is it Harry? Harry?" I'm thinking
Yeah,
Bigfoot.
yeah,
Is this Bigfoot what everybody talks about? He said it's
right.
Harry, and he said it also breeds with other giants. Tries to breed with other giants.
So you're saying
Which
when it
they
does that, it's
consider,
breeding with
yeah,
other kinds of giants. It tries to do that.
which they consider
There's an
him.
important
He
point.
did
Yeah,
not know the name Bigfoot. When I said
yeah.
because I said Bigfoot to him, he didn't know what that meant.
Just hasn't
He
registered.
didn't know
Yeah.
what that word
Okay.
was. He considers it a giant, but
At
it's
30
hairy.
feet,
But it's a hairy giant.
at 30 feet, that you're meeting all the requirements there of giants.
So, so I he also explained the next giant was a 24-footer, and it's a common
Yeah.
giant.
Now,
There's a lot of them,
are they human
and
like, or
the
are these
24
what?
footer are humanoid looking,
Interesting. Yeah.
and he said they have tribes.
Okay.
Then he told me there was another giant that has no limit, that he was told that, and that he has seen that giant before, and it's much, much, much. taller than the 24
But
footers.
when you say it has no limit, they're not aware that it would ever stop growing. But
I
it's
don't know.
huge. Is the
I don't
point
know.
we're getting, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Big,
So
big, big.
so there he I
It's
asked him
hard
on
to
that
fathom that,
I asked him about that, Joe,
but
and
it's true.
I did, and he told me that the tribal people that he has known
Yeah,
and have talked to and the history of his family telling him down the line that uh they've seen these other giants, but they're
right.
seeing those giants much bigger than the 24, and they're seeing a lot of different sizes of them.
Yeah,
So that's
that's
why he said no
so
limit.
interesting, man. Because people get this idea of just one thing, and there's this one size, and they get this big, and it's just. Then you realize, well, those get that big, but these over here, they get much bigger. And then you go, well, how can there be these over here? Well, there can be a lot based on your work. I've seen numerous giants in shots that you've showed, and when we say that, folks, we're not talking about people 8 feet tall. Oh my gosh, is it acromegaly? Is it a pituitary thing? We're not talking about that. This and that. There shall the twain meet. Can I put it that way? We're talking about a different thing. And so when many people come to me and talk to me about that, well, Robert Wadlow, and Robert Wadlow was real, 8 feet tall and all that, but we're talking about things that are 20, 30, 40, 50 feet tall. I've personally found things 50 feet tall, and that's a fact. And I can take you to a picture and we can do that, but today we're hearing this fantastic story. If I would
So
shut up.
So at that point, I'm thinking, man, what is this guy playing me?
Right,
He's the chief of the tribe. Why is he telling me
right.
this shit? Is he trying to scare me? Is
Yeah,
this something they do if a tourist come around to stay there?
right. So you're just
You,
beginning to wonder, is he just
yeah,
joking you and joshing?
yeah. So
And
I'm
everybody,
like, you're kidding
right?
me. You're
Yeah,
playing a joke on me. He says no. Well, at this time, I've already communicated with him for several hours. We've
right.
already became friends. He liked me, I liked him. We talked about United States. We talked about a lot of things. We
Yeah,
in and we really clicked. Um, you know, uh I think from my point of view that he liked me
yeah.
and I really liked
Obviously,
him.
here he wouldn't be sharing
Yeah,
that with you. Yeah,
I thought he was just down to earth, really. I just was so wow, this is so wild. So
amazing. Huh?
yeah, so I'm like, you're kidding me, you're joking. He's like, no. He's like, my father took me to a graveyard that his father took him to that is giant. It's for giants. It has
So a giant
yeah, he
graveyard.
says we call it a graveyard because it's just nothing but giants, and it has giant skulls all there. And I said, okay. I
Oh,
said, huh, I'm just listening to him. Now I'm still getting into that, but you fucking bullshit me still. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So I said, you're kidding me. Quit. And, of course, my friend and her girlfriend are like, they're
Right.
staring at him as he's
They're
talking.
like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
mine. Yeah.
I'm like, you're kidding me. He's like, no. He's like, tomorrow morning, if you would like, I'll take you there. I'm like,
To the
okay.
graveyard, the giant
I'm like,
graveyard.
okay.
Awesome.
Instantly, I
Yeah.
don't know. Let's see, Mr. Joker. I don't know. Things are going through my head. I don't know. And I'm thinking he's playing, because I never believed in any of that before. I never believed
Right.
in Bigfoot. I never believed in giants, man. I didn't believe in that stuff. I just
Well,
maybe
it's a
possibly
fantastic subject.
aliens
It
maybe
is.
are out
Yeah.
there. I thought, but you know, I thought all these Bigfoot videos and stuff were all fake, man. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I don't know.
And some of them are.
Yeah, and
I believe in. I want to go on the record. I want to say I believe in Bigfoot, and I'm not trying to say I don't believe in Bigfoot. I totally believe in that, but I just think based on my research, and I've researched the giants for 20 years solid, and I'm not joking. The biblical giants, and I found things that would carry Bigfoot like a stretch Armstrong,
oh, Joe,
and
so
people, it's just hard to wrap your mind around it. But we're not
listen.
joking.
Yes,
Back
indeed.
to your story. I'm shutting up.
So I'll just end that time because there's a lot more talk going on about stuff. Besides, because there was a lot more stuff. I kept at him. You know what I mean? Uh, I just couldn't quit. You know,
Yeah.
the girls wanted to go lay down, and they weren't going without me. Not meaning dirty wise. They were just
Right,
scared.
right, right.
Yeah, well, you were coming with us. So I
You're
kind
weird
of had to,
out, in other words. This is
yeah,
just all too crazy
yeah,
for
I
me.
kind
Like,
of
it's
had to end that. I
spooky
wanted to
stuff.
keep at him. I was,
Right.
but then at the same time, I thought he's playing me. But why is he saying that he's going to take me tomorrow? So the next morning came, or no.
Right.
So we walked back to where we're sleeping, and we walk out onto the beach because he told me about this light that comes from a certain area and lands on top of the mountain, and it's about every 2 3 days that light will do that, and it does the same exact direction every time, the
Now,
same place in the
back
sky.
up and tell me who told you that. The chief
So
told you
yeah,
this?
yeah. So I'm thinking,
Okay.
man, is that an alien? You know what I mean? So
Obviously,
I'm,
yeah.
like a
First
spaceship.
thought, yeah.
So we walk over to the beach.
Okay.
We stand at the beach for a minute. We light a cigarette up. All of a sudden, one of the tribal guys comes up, walking up. The
Okay.
chief's already walked back to his little place where he sleeps, and this tribal guy walks up and says, "Hey, I'll take you." And he points at his chest. And I said, "You'll take me." I don't know what you say. I'm looking
Hey,
at him. I'm like, "You'll
careful.
take
Hold
me."
on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, "You'll take me." And he's like, "I'll take you see giants." And he said, for a small sum of cash,
Yeah.
your money. He didn't say cash. He said your money.
Right.
For a small thing of your money. Um, um, I'm like, you know
Right.
what I mean? I'm just like, what? So my friend is like staring at him like,
I'm sure your mind's
yeah.
racing whether is this guy for real
Her
or
girlfriend's
not?
like,
Like, what's the
what? You
deal?
know what I mean? Come
Yeah.
on, this is too much. I'm like, I don't know about that, man. What do you mean you'll take me? He goes, I'll take you to show you the giants. He says, you
Uh,
make it worth my while. I have kids. He said,
right.
between me and you, I have kids.
Yeah.
I said, okay. I said, I'll think about that, my man. You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
like, and I
Yeah.
blew it
Okay.
off. You know what I mean? He walked off. I'm like, you'll have to come back to me on that, whatever. He
Yeah.
walked off. I just like, We walk back to where we're sleeping at. We lay down and we start talking. Well, my friend's like, what do you think he was gonna show us? I'm
Right.
like, what do you mean, man? He's gonna probably fucking rob us.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, he's gonna take us from the village and fucking kill us, cut our throats, dump us, take our cash,
I
whatever,
mean,
dude.
if
I'm like,
you're
no
not
way.
thinking cautiously this way,
Yeah,
you're
dude.
foolish.
I'm like,
Clearly. Yeah.
yeah. So I got this big old gold necklace on,
Right.
because I
Right.
was flashy. That's just how
You're wearing out some pretty
how I
flashy
am.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm flashy. I got,
Yeah.
you know, diamond fucking watches and shit. And I didn't have
Yeah.
that on, but I had that necklace on. That necklace probably cost me about 10 grand. So I thought, man, he's spliting on that necklace. He's gonna get my
Yeah.
cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, wow. I'm like, "Nah, I ain't doing shit, man." And she's like, I want to go. I want to go see. I'm like, well, it's too late. He's gone, man.
Yeah.
Just
Like he's
like that.
gone.
Like,
The gigs up. Yeah.
yeah, we have a hard time sleeping. So,
Right.
you know, uh, uh, my girlfriend, they're snuggled up over there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm hearing all these fucking noises now. And I'm like, oh shit, man. Oh
Yeah.
shit. So, you know what I mean? The embarrassing
Right.
thing of all, which I don't even want to say on here, and I'm going to say it, is I had to go to the bathroom. So I'm like,
Right.
motherfucking, I'm like, dude, this is not cool. In the daytime,
Yeah.
I hear peacocks in the woods, all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah,
Nighttime,
that's now you
yeah,
got to go to the bathroom
nighttime,
and you
it's
got to
like a
face it.
total different sound kicked in. It was
Yeah,
like total different sound than the
nighttime
daytime.
jungle sounds
The
are just a
things you were
little
hearing in
more.
the daytime,
Yeah,
you weren't hearing at night. You were hearing something
yeah,
different. And you want to ask somebody, what's that? What's that?
yeah, yeah.
You know,
What
and
makes
there's no
that
one to ask
sound?
what's
Yeah,
that in my where I'm sleeping at. So
yeah,
I'm laying there. I must have been up 3 fucking hours, man. I must have been up till 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm not shitting you. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Thinking, man, are these guys gonna slice my throat? Am I gonna get killed in the night?
So you're seriously like weighing this all night long, and so
Oh
the
yeah,
next
dude.
morning
Oh
rolls
yeah.
around, and what's up, kids?
Yeah.
What happened
So the
then?
next day hits. We get up. We walk out. We're supposed to go have breakfast with the chief. So we walk out to the beach area, smoke a cigarette instead of smoking by
Right,
people. You know, it's rude to do that
right,
if they're not a smoker. So we
right.
walk out by the beach. We're having a cigarette. Same area we fucking were in last night. We're not wandering off or nothing. And the girls, they're gabbing back and forth. And all of a sudden, here comes that guy.
Yeah,
And he walks up and he says, "Hey, did you make your mind up?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't know about that, dude. I don't know you. I'm
right.
sorry, but I don't know you. You don't know me. I don't know. For all I know, I'm just being straight about it, Joe.
Yeah.
For all I know, you could take me up there and slice my throat and
You're just
ride."
telling this deal sounds super shady,
Yeah.
man, and we got to
He's
look
looking
into
at
it.
me
Yeah.
like he can't believe I'm saying something like that to him.
Yeah. So
I
what's his reaction?
my
What is he?
friend, my friend turns and goes, "You know what? I want to go." And he says, "Okay." And I looked at her and I go,
Right.
"I'm doing." And "I'm going regardless if you're not."
So
And
she
she
says,
goes,
"I'm
"I'll
in
make
whether
it
you
worth
are
your
or not."
while.
Okay.
She says, "I'll make it worth your while to him." I'm like, so he's like,
Right.
"Okay." He's like, "3 hours. You meet me 3 hours after you eat or something. It was dinner or somewhere in
So
there,
you got
lunch or
time to
something."
meet, a
Yeah, it was
prearranged
like,
time to meet.
yeah, it
So
was
you
like
meet.
3 hours. We had to go do something though first. So the 3 hours he was meeting after lunch. So we were like, huh, we walk away. We bless you. We walk
Jesus.
away.
I need it.
We walk back to our
Okay.
sleeping area so they could get something. And
Yeah.
we're talking now. I'm like, "What are you gonna do, man?" I'm like, "You're gonna get sliced. You're gonna get what the fuck? You're gonna
So
get
you're
us
you're kind
killed."
of amazed that she's in, she's
Yeah.
ready to go, and like you're
I'm
thinking,
like,
ah,
"Yeah." I'm like, "You're gonna get us killed, man. No, no, no." You know what I mean? So she's like, well, she's like, "I want to go." I'm like, "Okay." Well, we go have breakfast. We
right,
uh we're eating and talking with the chief, and he's telling me stories about Salem's Island, and I'm learning legendary stuff and all kinds of stuff that they talk about. Well, he tells me that the skulls that are placed out there, because he starts talking about skulls again, that the women, I asked him where they eat from, and he said mostly out of the ocean. And
interesting, yeah.
he said
So
we
they live
do
on a
go,
tropical island,
yeah.
and
He
they
said
eat
we,
most of their diet out of the ocean.
yeah. He said we do get stuff out of the jungle, but it's very rare because the jungle's alive and we don't want to go in there. And I said, huh. And he said, the women
There
will
it is.
paint. He showed me the ash, and it looked like this ash stuff. And it was in this like bowl, looked like wood carved, not like a bowl that we have. And it looked like an ash,
Right,
and like a cigar ash,
right.
and in clumpy. Well, he took his finger in that and rubbed it on him like this. And when he did, it
Huh?
turned solid white, like white paint.
It's like a body paint. So
Yes,
like
and
a tribal paint that they
at the same
use.
time he's doing this, he's telling me a story,
Okay.
and he tells me that the of story of what I asked him, and he tells me that the women tribal will go out there, but they strip down naked, no skirt,
Uh-huh.
nothing, and they'll paint themselves with that white stuff, their whole head, everything, and they'll go out there with their basket thing to get the stuff. Well, the tribal men will go out there with the women, with their weapons, and
Right.
stand around the women, not with the women, but around the women.
Understand.
They'll stay around as the women move. They stay in a circle area in an area, and they watch for giants, creatures of the
So
creatures
what
of the
I'm hearing
jungle.
you say, so what I'm hearing you say is these women are covered in this white ceremonial paint when they go to gather things out of the jungle. And the men do go along, but they're not gathering. They're going as security front and
And they're
back. It
not
seems
going with
to
paint
me.
on the men. No paint on the
Very
men.
interesting.
So I'm like, why isn't there paint? Why don't they put paint on the men? Well, the men are a distraction for the giants. He tells me
Wow.
that
He just
if
tells you.
anything in the jungle, and he's meaning these creatures in the jungle, any of these creatures come at towards the giants, come at the tribal women, the tribal men will distract them, and they'll go after the tribal men instead of the women because the women are painted white and they represent the skull.
Wow. Heavy duty, man.
I was like,
So what you're
wow.
saying, so if there's an attack and they're out there and these giants decide I'm coming in, I'm attacking, the men actually run as the bait. They're the distraction to like give the
And
giant
try to
something to
fight the
grab.
giant, whatever, get killed
And
for the
they're pulling
women
them away
to
from to
save their women
save these
if
other
that
people.
happened.
That's
Yes.
an amazing tactic.
Yes.
That's wow. That's an amazing story,
So,
dude.
so
Awesome details, sir.
yeah, so as that's going on, he says over like this with his hand. A couple tribal guys come over. He's talking to him, and then they walk over to some other tribal guys. They come back, and there's like a group of them, man. I want to say possibly maybe four, three at least, maybe four to six. Because I'm seeing groups of them, so I don't know exactly how many went.
Yeah.
Well, they came over, and another group came over, and he pointed his finger towards the jungle. They took off and went in the jungle. So I'm thinking, what's going on?
Yeah.
Is something
Right.
fucking coming?
So
This
he
guy's
just
got
sends
me
he's
thinking now.
obviously sending a patrol out into the
Yeah.
jungle, like, boom, you got
So I'm
squad
like,
number one,
yeah.
you're going
So
out.
about 10 minutes goes by.
Right?
We're finishing eating.
Right?
Okay. My girlfriend's friend, she's not eating their stuff. She's just too.
She's not feeling the native
No,
food.
no, no. Because I already was throughout the day. I was already asking what they eat, what they do. They're
Right.
telling me different things. There's some kind of worm, like white worm, they eat out of trees that are like
A
dead
grub.
trees, and I mean, so she's weirded out over it.
Right.
Some of their stuff didn't taste bad, really, and some of it, was maybe fishy. So you'd have to have a taste for fishy, but I assume you get used to it. Uh,
Right.
so we're finishing up the breakfast, and uh, he did that, sent them guys off. 10 minutes goes by. He says, "Are you ready to go?" I said, "Yeah." I said, so I'm like, the first thing that hit my mind, well, what? I'm talking to him, so I'm like, why those guys go out in the jungle? And I
Yeah.
point over there. He says that they went out in the jungle. They're warriors, and that they went out in the jungle to make sure it's okay for us to go. So they'll walk ahead of us to make sure there's nothing out there to fear.
In other words, they're the scout patrol for the trip.
So yeah, so I'm
Got
like,
that?
okay. I stand up, we stand up, we're ready to go. Uh, my girlfriend or my friend, it's not my girlfriend, my friend. I'm just saying girl because
Right.
she's a girl. Uh,
Right. She's
her
bringing
friend
them with you.
doesn't want to
Gotcha.
go. She's like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. But I'll go, but I'm not going in the cemetery if there's one. She's all just rambling on. So we get up, we get to go. We start to head towards the woods. Other tribal guys are coming with us. So I'm like, these guys, they're coming with us? And he says, yeah. I says, okay. He says, there will be more behind us as well to watch
Yeah.
out for whatever, if anything comes behind us. So it's like they warn and
Yeah.
it was like I was surrounded with tribal people. So we're walking, they're walking with us. Supposedly some are way back there. I don't see them.
Front and behind then.
And in front
Gotcha.
of us, they're out there somewhere.
Right.
So we start walking, walking, walking. We come up to this tribal guys that are standing there. Not all of them are standing there. There's two of them. I don't know where the other guys are that went out there, but there's two of them.
Yeah.
There's an opening. We come into this opening. The ground is like a hard gravelly, like somebody almost looks like somebody plowed it. You know what I mean? It's all to walk on.
Interesting.
As we're coming up to that, on the side of me, there's hills. And
Yeah.
I'm looking and I can't see over these hills. And they're probably 9 feet, 7 feet, 10 feet. They're different varieties and they look like dirt hills, almost like a tomb, almost like rounded though, on the top, rounded
You
and
be
coming
all
down.
over something there,
So
but
I'm
yeah.
like, what the hell? I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, the opening starts to come in. We start to walk into the opening. We start to see skulls instantly. We're seeing skulls of our size skulls and instantly, and then probably about 10 more feet up, it starts to turn into these bigger skulls. It was like they were almost like the skulls were laid out in sizes. It was weird.
Very interesting. So
So
you
it was
first started
small
seeing
skulls
normal
as we're coming in.
human-sized skulls, and
Yes,
as you walk farther, the skulls
yes.
got bigger.
The trail starts to open, like almost like a cutout field area with no trees,
Uh-huh.
but just this roughed dirt. So it's starting to open. You're seeing these skulls on the ground. Next thing you know, you're seeing skulls the size of your knees. Next thing you're seeing skulls the size of your waist,
So skulls are coming up to your
all
waist. You're walking
spread
up to the
out,
skull, and it comes up
not
to your
not piled up. They're spread out, set, like
individually.
just
I
laying
get it.
around.
Yeah.
And they're not facing no certain way. They're just laying around.
They're just randomly laying
Yes.
about. Interesting,
Some part
man.
in the ground,
Amazing.
some totally out of the ground. A lot of them totally out of the ground,
Yeah.
but some in the ground. Different. You can look at them and you can see some are whiter than other ones.
Yes.
Some are really like just dirty looking, old.
That's just that. Yeah. Some of them are in the
So you
form
can see
of
the
being mud
change of
fossils,
the
and some of them are
skull.
permanent. What you're
So you
saying?
can see the
Uh,
change of the oldness of skull just by
sure.
looking at them.
Yeah.
We walk in and the valley opens up. There's skulls a size over my head.
No way.
And I'm like, wow,
A skull that you walked up to and is taller than you are.
taller than me. And as I'm
Wow.
walking towards that,
Amazing.
the trail is opening up to like a fucking field looking.
Yeah.
And you look, and I turned towards him and I said, what's the biggest skull? And he
Right. How
said,
big
the
do they
biggest
get?
I know of is a 24-footer. As he's telling me that, I'm walking over this skull. I shit you not. And as I'm walking to it, I'm looking at it thinking, is this a prop? Is this a
Yeah.
trick? Am I hallucinating? What the fuck is going on? And this skull was as tall as my garage. I have a 2-car garage with that peak. That
Yeah.
skull had to have been taller or just as tall as my
So you
garage.
say this skull is over 15 feet, obviously, maybe
I
20 feet
walked,
tall.
I walked in it into the
Wow.
eyeball. It's laying down sideways, this skull.
You walked in the eyeball
I
socket.
walked in the eyeball this way, and
Wow.
there was probably this much room to that part of the eye.
Amazing,
That eye
man.
must have been 8 foot opening of an eye, 7 foot opening because
That's
I cleared
incredible.
it.
And this is all recounting the story of you getting to visit the giant graveyard.
Yes.
And you go up there and you think, man, what's this going to be? And so it ends up, dude delivered apparently in spades there.
Yes.
Big, that's some of the biggest skulls I've ever heard of, and I found some big stuff. But now I'm impressed, man. I have to tell you,
Unbelievable. Just fucking unbelievable. Blow your mind.
wow, yeah,
Blow your mind. My friend's friend is standing back by the tribal guys as the trail opens.
Right.
She didn't come in with us, but me and my friend are in there.
Yeah.
Uh, you look around and it looked like almost like mold growing onto the skull from the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and almost like oh god, just the wildest look to it. Like, don't touch that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You could tell that, like, this doesn't seem
Because I touched the skull. I touched the skull, man.
just to know it was real,
I
right?
knocked on it. It didn't even make a noise.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
I
Um,
suspect what you were seeing there is some lichen, moss, or a mold will grow. And that's got to do with the literal blood inside the skull. The mold and these things are attracted to that. And that's why you're seeing it only there inside the skull. It's literally living on the blood. Move on, sir.
the
Fascinating.
ground was dark around the skulls, almost like,
Ground dark around the
yeah,
skulls.
real
Right.
dark, like real dark dirt, like dark reddish, blackish reddish
Wow.
in that area, right in all
Blood.
that area, man.
Uh-huh.
And I thought the ground ain't gonna look like that over there or in the village, or
Well, you
this is
mentioned
weird.
that the ground had this on it. What you're
Real
describing is again
ancient
that
looking,
stuff
man. Look
reacting with the
old.
blood.
Look old.
Yeah.
I've been in, like, my mom, when my mother was younger, her and her friend would go to grave sites to look at old graves. And you'd see
Yeah.
the ones that are sunk in the ground, and
Uh-huh.
they must have didn't use the, cement thing. And so
Yeah.
they'd like to do that. And so it, to me, it looked old. I just looked old. It looked ancient.
Yeah.
The ground looked like just
It's not
old,
fresh. There's
almost like
obvious this is really
there
old
was a
stuff. Yeah.
dust on it even too.
Yeah.
It was this bizarre. So
Awesome.
we come out of there. We hike back um to where her friend is, which was probably good 100 feet, not far.
Right.
And so we start to walk back, and one of the tribal guys comes over and is talking to the chief and tells the chief something. I don't understand what they're talking, because they're not talking in American.
Okay.
The chief can
So
talk.
in the native language,
They're
some
talking in
tribes
a
are
certain
walking
kind
the
of
chief.
language now.
Uh-huh.
So I'm thinking, what's wrong? I'm looking like, what's wrong? And he looks like something's wrong, Joe.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I said, what's going on? The chief said, we got to go. And he pointed, and you could see this hairy beast on the ground, dead. And as he
Interesting.
pointed, that must have probably been about 30 feet from us. And I
So
said,
30 feet from
wow,
you, you'd see a hairy beast on the ground. How big is the
yes.
beast?
I said, wow, oh my gosh. I'm like, at that point, I'm like, this is crazy. Probably about 30 feet. Because
30 feet.
I asked the chief, how big is it? Is
You
that a
said so.
bear?
Your creature laying there dead is 30 feet tall.
Yes, he did. I said,
I'm
is
with
that a
you.
bear? That's the first thing
Okay.
I said. He said, no. I said, what is that? He said, that's a giant creature. He said, that's the hairy creature I told you
So
about.
this is an example of one of the hairy giants that he had described, which could
Yes.
be obviously be that
So
tall.
I couldn't see it up close because I'm 30 feet away.
Right.
So I start to walk towards it a little bit to try to, and stand up tall, to
Right. Kind of peak. Yeah.
yeah, what's up.
Yeah.
And at that point, I thought, fuck, I'm pulling my cell phone out. I didn't even think of pulling my cell phone out in the skeleton area. So I pull my cell phone out. I try to zoom in and shoot a picture as they're talking. And I got a picture of that beast laying on the fucking ground with blood all over.
That's amazing.
I
That
did
is
that
amazing.
right away.
The
No
forethought to do
sooner than
that
I
is
did
awesome.
that, he says, we got to go. And I says, okay. And they were feared that that beast, whatever killed that beast, it might be in the area, or there might be
Right.
more of them beasts in the area. So
Right.
we hiked out. You could tell the tribal people were intense. Now, They weren't just
So
walking. They weren't
they've
just
got the
walking
alert here.
normal. They
They're
were
feeling
walking
time
quick.
to go
They're
home now.
super
I get
quiet
that.
when they walk through the jungle. I'm
Right?
talking, you wouldn't even hear these guys. So they're
Yeah.
walking quick. We're getting out of there. We get back to the village. We have lunch. Uh,
Uh-huh.
my girlfriend's friend, she's all she's doing is, I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to go home. This is miserable. This is miserable. I want to go home. My friend is interested.
Yeah.
She's interested. She wanted to go see the giant
Mm-hmm.
or the giants. So I'm like, okay. So we go back, we eat, we're hanging out. We walk back down towards our sleeping area, and then we start to wander around the beach. My friend's friend is gonna go swimming, and my friend's gonna go swimming around the beach, walk in the water. But my friend's
Yeah.
friend's worried about sharks, so she's not gonna go swim. So we go out there. That guy, that tribal guy, comes walking out of the blues. He
Yeah.
says, "Hey." I said, "Hey, man." He says, uh, "You want to go see them giants?" And I'm already told this
No
fucking
way.
guy.
Just walks
I
up and
already
said, "Hey
told this
man, want to go
guy,
see them
no.
giants?"
I already told him, no, man. Nah, I don't think it's a good idea. Blew him off. So
Right.
I just looked at him like, huh? Like,
Like
really,
what?
dude? You're
Yeah.
you
Right.
know what I mean? Kind of bugging.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, she comes walking right over as he's walking up. And he says that. I look at him, like, really, dude? She says, let's go.
So she's in. All just walks up.
Her
Hey, I'm
friend
in.
gets out of the water, comes over, goes, I don't want you
Wow.
to go. I don't want you to go. Please don't go. I'm
Right.
not going. So I looked at her and I went, gave her that look like, what the fuck? And she looked at me and went, like, right back. It was kind of
Yeah.
comical, Joe. And I'm like, okay. I said, all right, dude, if I go, I'm not, can I pay you when we get back? Because I
There
don't
you
take
go.
no money with me. I'm not even going to take my jewels. I'm not
Right.
taking nothing with me. I looked at him like,
Right.
hey, dude. And he's like, okay. So I'm like, okay. Take off my necklace, give it to her
That
friend.
probably made you feel better. Like
Yeah, I'm still scared because I don't know
you're
if it's a
right,
setup. You're going to take me out there and kill me and then come back and kill our
dude.
friend and,
We got to hear what you saw.
whatever, dude.
That,
I'm like, hey, I feel okay because the chief is fucking wonderful and all the
yeah.
tribal people are so wonderful.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, we walk off. He wants to meet us in a couple hours now. And he wants us to walk down the beach to a certain area to meet us, and then we'll go from there. So we're
Okay.
like, okay. So we walk back, of course, her friend, blah, 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 doesn't want her to go, keeps it
So you
up.
set up a meeting with the guy, and you're supposed to meet him later, but at a different location.
So now I'm like, I'm thinking, okay, if this shit's real, I'm kind of scared. You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
having these motions go through me, dude. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just seen these
Understandable, my brother.
skulls, dude. I
Yeah.
seen these skulls, and I'm like, no way. So time goes by. We go to meet this guy. I'll just make the short story quicker.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
go to.
People
There's
want
a
to know.
lot of details still. We go to meet this guy. We get in this small pickup truck. We drive up the mountain.
Right.
The guy is driving 5 miles an hour, dude. I'm like, the fuck, you know what I
Right.
mean?
And
It's a
is it
dirt
because are you
road, but
driving
it's
on a
it's kind of
road, or
clean road,
let
but
me
it's
ask you
dirt.
this: are you driving on a road, or is it just like you're chucking it through the jungle type thing?
It's a dirt road,
Uh
but it's
huh.
really wide. I'm not sure how wide it is. Like two cars
Muddy?
could
Is it
come.
muddy,
You know
wet
what I
type
mean?
thing, or
A couple of cars could go. You know what I mean? Or
right?
one could come and one could go by. It's not little. And on the sides of the road, I noticed, it's cleared and pushed back. The woods, the jungle is.
Right. So you
So
got a two lane dirt road
which makes it
with
feel
some
like you're going
leeway.
down a freeway. Maybe a
Right.
little bit wider than how they clear the freeway woods out when you're driving on the freeway.
Okay.
So we driving up this thing. I'm like, oh my god, man! It's like,
And he's
I look,
crawling. He's
yeah,
going
I look at
slow.
her. I'm like, man, it feels like 2 hours went by, man.
Right.
And she's like, yeah. She's like, knock on the window and ask him what's up.
Yeah.
So I knock on the window. He opens the slide window. I didn't even get a chance to say anything.
You're
He's
like,
like,
we're
we're
turning
almost
right.
there,
He
just
says,
around the bend, just around the bend. He shuts the window. I'm like,
okay,
okay, dude. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, that was very
time,
short. You know what I mean?
time
And
for
I'm nervous,
racing
bro. And
hearts
you're
here.
not
Yeah,
like, hey man, it's okay,
yeah, yeah,
And so you know what I'm saying? I'm like,
yeah,
so we get up around this bend
yeah.
and he pulls over and he says, okay, okay, you follow me.
So
So
that's
we
it. You stop the truck, you jump
yeah,
out. All of you are out. How many
yeah.
people are? How many people are we talking about?
Okay, me and my friend, but she didn't bring her girlfriend. And then the
Right. So
tribal
you and one friend of yours, that's a
and
girl,
the
and
tribal
then
man.
the driver, and that's it. Or
That's it. That's it.
wow.
So
Okay.
we get out the truck. She's all like, fucking, this is cool, like we're walking into Cedar Point, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm nervous, dude. I
Right. You
don't
don't know
know.
how
I'm
this is
nervous.
gonna
She's gonna
roll,
open this
man.
curtain up, and tell me, look, and the giants are. I'm like, ah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're feeding me to a giant, but even though
Yeah. Yeah. Careful
I
now.
just don't
Careful what
believe
you
this
wish
shit.
for. Yeah.
Now I'm blown in the head from these fucking skulls.
So,
Sorry for
dude, tell us
swearing. It's just
what do you
blows my
see?
mind.
How does it roll out? Tell me what
Yeah.
happens.
So we walk over there. She's of course ahead of me. You know, I'm
Okay.
walking behind her like, She walks up. He's like, "Come up here." So we walk up. It's almost like a freeway where you'd pull over on your travels, and you
Uh-huh.
would overlook like an overlook
Over,
pass.
almost like pulling over
Yeah,
at a
almost like
freeway and
how there's
looking
a
at the
railing, and then
overlook.
you'd walk
I
up,
get it.
park your car, walk up, and you could see
So,
down
so you're
below
so you're
in
in
the
an
valley for a
elevated
ways.
you're
Yes,
in an elevated position and you're
yes.
looking down on
hmm
this target area that you're going to look at.
So as she walks up, she's in front of me, of course, probably about 5 feet. I see her start to look like this with her head. I walk up, and soon as I walk up to look, he goes like that with a pair of binoculars. He has a medium-sized pair of binoculars. He hands them over to me,
Yeah.
like right into my chest. I'm like, okay. I grab the
Awesome.
binoculars. I'm looking, and it looks like the entire valley. It looks like I'm watching TV, and there's all these different size things down there fighting and standing around and
Wow.
or playing football or I don't know what the fuck, right?
Give me an idea of how
So
big
yeah,
these
but
things
it's
were.
all
So
throughout this
they're
valley,
obviously not
dude.
humans, right? They're obviously not regular sized people.
I'm
That's a
seeing different size, but I can't make out to tell if it's a giant or what. I
right.
can see it kind of looks like it, but I don't
Yeah.
fucking know. I see like big looking human figures, but I don't fucking know. You know what I mean? Because I'm not seeing it close up. So
Right.
he's got the binoculars in my chest. I grab the binoculars, I lift them up, I take a look,
Let
and
me
when
have
I
it, man.
fucking looked, I seen giant creatures. I'm not shitting you, and people might think I'm crazy. Go there yourself, man. Try to go up the mountain. I bet you'll never
Tell
make it.
your story, man. Tell her story. Tell the truth. What
I
you saw.
looked. I could not believe what the fuck I seen. I seen giant creatures that look like monsters, that look like humans, that have horse heads, that have ballistic, craziest heads you could imagine, with eyeballs sticking out, testicle looking things, like shit you would see in movies, kids' movies,
Right.
all kinds of nutty shit. Hairy looking giants, giant looking people that they had to have been giant because they were down different sizes, humanoid looking people that were tribal looking people, holding
Fascinating.
skulls on them.
So, give me an idea of the range of sizes. What you're describing, or
I can't tell
is you're
because
seeing this
I
scene,
can't
and
tell.
are
I'm
these
looking
things
through
battling?
binoculars.
Are they fighting each other?
I can't tell for sure because I'm looking through binoculars, the size,
But you're
but
saying it's an action scene.
I could tell that some looked humanoid size, and then it just kept going. I seen a lot
Yeah,
of ones a lot bigger than that human looking one, that were like could have been the 24, and then I seen 60 looking feet ones. Man, I am not
yeah.
fucking shit. Ones as tall as trees.
Yeah.
So
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 a
so I'm
humanoid
looking,
tall as a
right? I'm
tree,
looking,
60
I'm
feet.
shocked. I'm shocked. I'm
Now
like,
the
oh,
humanoid tall as a tree, was he human looking or is he one of the hairy giants? Can you describe him?
human looking face, like eyeballs,
Uh-huh.
nose, mouth, but uh creature kind of looking, like humanoid, but like almost like creature looking in a way too. Like weird. Just
Are
weird,
they wearing
man.
clothing or are they, can you tell if they're wearing
I
clothing?
can't tell right now. I can kind of see, but I'm more focused on what the fuck, and I take the binoculars
Yeah,
down.
you're just seeing
I
something
look
50
again with
feet
my
tall and like,
eyes. I take my
yeah,
hand and go like that,
yeah,
thinking, what the fuck? And I look at my friend,
uh-huh.
and when I look at my friend, she's already got this little camera she owns that hooks to her cell phone, comes out about that far, and I've looked through it before, and it sees
And
crap.
what you're describing, let me tell everybody what he's describing there is a zoom lens that you can put on your cell phone. And his friend, oh, gold star for preparedness for her, had this zoom thing and puts it on her phone. And tell us about that.
So when I look at her, and I'm gonna ask her for her binoculars because I'm thinking maybe the binoculars the guy gave me, that there's some kind of new
Right.
binocular, showing me a
It's got
movie
a
in
little
there, trying to
scene
trick
cooking in
me.
the binoculars or
Play a
something.
game with me to
Right.
get hustle me, man. I grew up in
Right.
Michigan, man, right outside Detroit. I know what it's about, man. I was
Yeah.
streetwise. I knew, man. I had all different, color friends and nation friends. I knew, I had
Yeah.
Arabic friends, I had black friends. I knew about the streets, man. So
Right. Right.
yeah, so I was just at that point, I thought, maybe he's tricking me.
Right.
So I looked at her and I said, "Hey, give me your binoculars." And she already had that thing hooked to her phone going
So
like
she's
this.
busy with her phone and not
And
using her binoculars
and I'm like,
anyway.
"Give
And
me your
you're like, hey, let
binoculars."
me see
She
yours.
grabs like this, hands them to me without even looking at me.
She's not.
Looking
Yeah,
at
she's
trying to
busy.
look at
Yeah.
now she's got the thing on. She's trying
Uh
to
huh.
zoom in. I grab her binoculars. I take a look. I'm not even thinking to say anything about her phone. I take a look and I
Uh
see
huh.
what I see again. And I take the binoculars down. I'm like, you
Same
see
scene.
that?
Giant beings
I'm
running
like, you
around,
see
crazy
that?
stuff.
I'm not looking at her. And I'm looking straight at what I'm seeing. I'm saying, you see that? And she says, oh, yeah, I'm getting it. And
Oh,
check it
amazing.
out. I look at the guy and I hand her back the binoculars and I go to, stick my hand out for him to hand me back his binoculars. And
Yeah.
he looks at me like, I don't fucking believe him. He's the silliest ass look.
Yeah.
And so I'm like thinking, what the fuck? So I'm like, okay, we fucking about 3 minutes after that, he's like, I get to look for about 3 more minutes, maybe 4 more minutes. Time was going so fucking fast.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't. I was like, dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll stand here for 4 hours trying to see what the fuck.
Right. No
You
kidding,
know what I
dude.
mean, dude? So he's like, we gotta go. I
So
look
all of a
at
sudden,
him.
dude's like, we got to go. The
Yes,
guy driving the truck is like,
yes,
time's up, gig's up,
yes.
party's over, we're leaving.
Yeah, he goes, we gotta
Okay.
go. And when he said we gotta go, about 50 feet away is the jungle started from us on the side of us, and you hear something go like a fucking tree fell.
Yeah.
I used to be a chainsaw carver before. I know what trees sound like when they fall.
Right. So
This
this was a
motherfucker
sound of a
sounded like a tree
large
fall.
tree breaking in half type
Yeah,
sound.
so that's what it
Yeah.
sounded like to me, or maybe some fuck stepped on something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I look, towards the jungle, and I look back at him, and he goes, "It's time to go now, or I'm leaving you." And I'm
Time
like,
to
"Come
get in
on,
the truck.
she's." I
So,
say, "Come on" to her, and I reach over to grab her arm
so you
of
guys
her,
are
yeah,
obviously
of her
enamored
sweater,
with the
and
scene, and it's
she's
time to go. He's
fucking,
telling you time's up. We're leaving.
going away, dude.
She's still shooting. She's
Yeah,
going to the
dude.
truck. She's moved. Yeah, I
I'm
got
like,
you,
"Come
man.
on,
I
he's
would.
leaving.
I'm
He's gonna leave us."
gold star for
He's.
her. I'm going to tell her
I
that
turn
if
and
I
look.
ever get to talk
He's
to her.
he's already walking. I'm like, he's gonna
Yeah.
leave us. She's walking backwards, trying to fucking still do whatever. I'm just like,
Right.
let's go.
And dude is like,
Because I
get
don't
in
know
the
if this is
truck.
real,
Right.
and I don't know if something's in them fucking woods right there, and I don't want to be eaten. I don't know if this is part of
Yeah.
a little scare program, what the fuck
Yep.
ever. My
Yeah.
mind's blown. I don't understand. So we get in the truck, we start driving back. I can't talk. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I am trying to think, what the fuck just happened?
And so let me lay that out real quick. What you're saying is you had this amazing experience, and then you get in the truck, and of course, anybody who's normal would think, "Gosh, man, I bet y'all just yammered all the way back about that." But you're saying you didn't talk, and you were very quiet, and
I don't
this
know if
is
I
a
could.
really
I
good
don't know.
indicator that you were in shock because you saw something really otherworldly, which
It was like I
it
just
really,
couldn't talk. I couldn't, I didn't, I was
yeah.
just mind boggled. What did I just see? Oh
Right. Your
my
mind's trying to
God.
process like a 50-foot dude,
And
really?
I'm trying to figure out reasons
Right.
why I seen it. You know, they
Yeah.
weren't trick camera binoculars because
Which
my friend had her
binoculars?
own pair that she brought, and I looked through my friends. My friend wasn't trying to fucking play a trick on me with
Right.
somebody.
He
I'm
didn't know
like, dude, I'm
about it.
thinking of all different fucking ways. So we get back to the village. We're not talking much. We're just,
Right.
I'm fucking sitting there. I'm smoking a cigarette. I'm like, wow.
Right.
And
What
after the
just
things that the
happened?
chief has told me the night before, he's told me about they place skulls to keep the giants away. There's an island out there that they place skulls on that to keep giants from coming from another island. And he pointed the
Uh-huh.
islands out. Tells me about that bird creature, the roper, that they don't want to go outside because at night because the fishermen used to go pull their nets in at night, and that thing would come down and try to attack them.
Wow. So fishermen were fishing at night,
Yes, and
and
they'll
which
pick
would be a
you up and
common,
they'll fly away with you. He
but
tells
they
me.
stopped because these flying creatures, which are similar to a pterodactyl, would attack them as they
Yeah,
tried to fish.
and he tells me that something in the beak lights up for about 3 minutes. I believe he told me the
All
beak lights
luminescent.
up for about three
Yeah. It's
minutes,
amazing. It's amazing.
and then
Complete
the light
can
goes
be
off. I'm
real.
like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? And so
Yeah.
I'm thinking of all these things.
Right.
The Chiefs told me everything's just drilling me like, whoa, 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 wake
Right.
up, dude. You know what I mean, bro? Am I fucking
How
stupid?
do I deal with this?
Yeah, and so we don't talk that much, and the day kind of goes. The evening was there, so when we got back, it was already dark. He wanted to go before dark, so we got there before dark and got out of there, I guess, before dark.
Yeah.
Sometime in the evening it was. So we all have our dinner. I didn't see the chief that night. Um, the next morning we're leaving at 1 o'clock. We're getting picked up. So when we got back, I forgot to tell you, my friend, she goes to hand the tribal member a $20 bill. I'm
Uh,
like, fucking, she tells me in the truck on the way back, don't worry, I got pictures, I got videos. I'm hearing her run her mouth, but I'm just like, I ain't
uh,
talking, man. So the guy comes up, we get back, he walks us back to the point where we met him at on the beach, and he reaches out his hand. He wants to be
yeah.
paid.
He wants the money.
So I'm like, go get my money, from your friend, and da 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 da. She's like, okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab
We'll
my
fix
purse.
this
I'll
up.
grab your
Yeah.
wallet, Rich. I'll be right back. It only took her a few minutes. She walks down the beach, comes back, hands me my wallet, and she goes to hand him $20. I'm like,
Or,
look at her like, what the fuck? I'm like,
right.
dude, we just seen fucking giants walking the earth
Right.
alive right now. I'm like,
And not
and
7
yeah.
footers and 8 footers. You
So
know what I'm saying?
yeah, so she goes to hand him
Wow,
twenty
man.
dollars. I don't know if he knew what $20 American was.
Right.
He looked okay with it, and he reached his hand
Right.
out, and I told her, no, 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 no. I said, you know what, take that too. And I pulled out and I gave him $1,000. 10 $100 bills. Boom, 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 boom,
Boom,
boom.
boom, boom, boom.
He said he had 9 kids. So, and I felt
I
like
think that's a
I
very
felt
admirable thing, man.
why I
I'm
did
sure
it,
it helped him. Yeah.
Joe, is because I thought in my head, I've been a TV actor, I've been in a couple movies, and I was a adult entertainer, AVN
Right.
star. I'm like, dude, I'm thinking maybe I should come back and try to plan something with him to
See,
come back
tell you what's
in
awesome
case I
about what
wanted to get more stuff, you know. At
uh,
that time, I thought, oh my God, I should have been video interviewing the tribal
yeah,
members, the chief,
exactly.
the
Oh
the
gosh,
the
yeah.
the skeletons we missed out
Of
on.
course, you're not finding all this out until you're
Yeah, it's
ready to
all
leave.
going
Now
through my
it's time
fucking
to
head. My
go, and
mind
they're
is
like,
going
"Okay,
a
I'm going to
million
pick you
fucking
up."
miles an hour. So I
Yeah.
pay the guy $1,000. I'm like, dude, it's all good, man. I'm like, hey, man, can if we come back, can you take us back out there again
Oh,
and
that's gold right
let
there.
us take some pictures and video? Let us take some pictures. I
Yeah.
didn't know if it was okay to do that. I didn't
Right.
even think to pull my fucking cell phone out because I was so, oh my God.
Yeah,
Time
I'm
was just
sure.
flying.
I mean, if you
So
saw something like that
so
that
where
people
my
don't
friend
understand,
did,
but you would just
so
be so
yeah, so
enamored
where
of
my
it.
friend
Oh,
did, and I'm like,
yeah.
oh my gosh. So, okay, so I'll make it quicker. So we come
Okay.
home,
Right.
long trip home. We're not happy. We're not talking. We're not like we
Still in
were when
shock
we
is what
came.
that is. Movie, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
everybody's mood is so
Yeah.
just weird, touchy.
Yeah.
And I'm just in shock and I'm thinking and thinking to my world, oh my God, what did I see? I can't believe this. So we get home and my friend's like, don't you want to see the pictures?
Lord
Instantly.
have mercy.
He's
Yes.
like, why don't you come over? I'm like, okay, I'll drop my stuff at home. I'll come right over. Let's check it
We'll check
out.
them out. What we
Yeah.
get? Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So I'm just like, but I'm not really talkative. And so I do that. I go home. I go over to her house and she puts the her phone cord, plugs it into the computer
Uh huh.
and she can pull
So
her
you can see
pictures
it
up
on a
on it.
larger screen. So you're not looking at a
Yeah, no,
telephone. You're looking at a
she's
computer
good.
screen.
Got pulls her picture file up on the computer.
Yeah.
So we click in, she clicks into the file and to her camera and starts showing me these pictures and looking
What's the
herself.
first thing you see when she pulls it up? What's the first images you see
A first image I
that are
got to
clear?
see was a half of a giant from his waist up, and his head looked like a fucking horse. And he had some sort of looking like a vest jewel thing coming down, almost like a
Uh huh.
necklace. And it looked like it
A
had
V-shaped
markings in it.
thing.
It
Yeah.
looked like it had markings in it. And when you
And his
zoom,
head was a
when
horse head.
yeah, and when you
And this
take
is a giant.
and he has some sort of ribbon looking thing, or it might be his hair, and it looked like red in another color, and it looked like his hair or a ribbon and his hair hanging here, and just a horse
That's
fucking head, perfect. And
wow.
and on top of it,
Yeah, that's hard to process. The giant, muscly horsehead guy with the cool outfit is it. You say that, and it's like, well, that's just ridiculous. That's what was in the picture. Clear. How
you
clear
you
was
could
it in the
take
picture?
you could take your phone. The picture actually was like not me, but you in the video, as big as you are in your picture. Maybe
Wow.
just a little bit further down because it's a cell phone
And so we're
picture
not.
to where
So
you
there was
see the
no
stomach
gray area.
of the belly.
There's no possibility you could have misidentified this
You
thing.
could
It
see
is
the
clearly a
arms.
horse head.
The fucking
Man,
arms on this thing had arms like Arnold Schwarzenegger, bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger. Fucking just
wow.
you could see the grooves everywhere.
So
Um,
this is a muscled giant creature with a
yeah,
horse head and a cool outfit. Well,
yeah. So we're
that
we're
if
we're
I check
we're
every box in the
instantly,
Nephilim,
yeah,
I don't
we're
know what does.
instantly.
But
She's
yeah,
instantly pressing it like next, next,
wow.
looking,
What are you seeing? So
next,
tell me, lay it on
next.
me,
So we
dude.
go
What are the
through
shots?
we go through this whole 265 pictures. There's about
265 still
there's
pictures.
about
How many are in
two
focus? How many
or
are out of
three.
focus?
There's about two or three that you can still make out good, but they're not as clear. The
Okay.
rest are all immaculate.
So
So we go
three
through.
out
Hold
of
on, we go through the
that many
pictures.
are so three fails and how many good pictures? 260. What'd you say, Tommy?
265.
260 good pictures, clear pictures of real giants in the woods with a zoom
With
lens.
7
No
videos.
guessing here. This is the stuff.
I want to say
Awesome.
11, but she has a couple extra ones, but they're like click, click, like something, I don't know if she was trying to zoom in and click I don't know. They're fuck up videos.
This is
But
such an
she
amazing
has 7
story.
videos
Who ever
that
got
are a
up
couple
there?
minutes apiece of going like this. She's
Uh
not
huh.
just going like that. She's moving like this, so you
Okay, so
see
she's shooting pan shots.
every
She's panning
fucking
across because
thing
the
in the
scene is
video.
so big. That's amazing,
And
dude.
when I got home and we looked
Yeah.
at these pictures, she went through them quick, slip, 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 just looking. Then we started zooming in and looking at different pictures, zooming in and
Yeah.
seeing what we could see. And
Okay.
there was giant skulls, like I seen.
Uh huh.
You could tell they were giant because there was people like they were walking out of the mouth.
So you're saying in amongst this scene, action scene, and we don't know if they're fighting or not, but there's some action going on. There's giant
They have
skulls
to
laying
be.
around.
They have to be fighting because
Yeah.
a lot of them have weapons. They have axes. This is hard to believe, but they do. They
This is
have
important.
axes.
Yes.
They have clubs, sword-looking things, and they have
Uh huh.
even hatchets in the picture or axes. Look just like fucking metal on the
Right.
fucking hatchet, just like ours.
Just like a hatchet,
It's
like a
fucked
giant
up, man.
hatchet.
I'm like,
Like you're going to go chop some wood or whatever. We
it's
won't
not
get into
brick.
that.
It's
Yeah.
fucking metal fucking hatchet or
Yeah.
axe or sword.
Wow.
And a lot
And
of
so
them
you
are
see
fighting,
a
killing
dog
each
creature with
other.
a hatchet. Give me a size on the dog creature with a hatchet. Did you tell me that?
Yeah. That's oh gosh. I'd have to look at the
Heck, that's
picture.
later work, dude.
Yes.
That's later work.
Yeah.
I'm
So
cut ahead. Let me back
yeah,
up.
you're cutting
Okay.
ahead now.
Skip
So
that. And it,
okay. Let me go where I
go back to
was.
the story.
Yeah, let me go where I was.
All right.
So we're investigating the pictures, looking at them, zooming in.
Right.
And the videos. I
Tell me
see.
that. Hold on.
I,
Back up.
I
Back up.
uh,
And the videos. Did I hear that? Did you say
yeah,
in
and
the
I was
video?
telling you
Tell me about that.
in the
I'd
video,
love to
she
know about that.
scrolls like that,
Uh huh.
real
So she did
slow.
videos where she's panning shots.
Yup.
Awesome.
So you're seeing the whole valley,
Right.
and she'll stop for a second and go
In other words,
real
she's
perfect.
zoomed on the valley. Now you're not seeing a
Yes.
wide shot of just all her. She's
You're
zoomed
not
and
seeing the trees down here in the mountain. You're seeing her zoomed right up perfect
yeah,
with all the creatures out there,
amazing, man.
giant
What an
creatures.
amazing story, man. That is
Um,
incredible.
So we're looking over the pictures. There's dog-like head or horse-like head creatures.
Right?
There's hairy-looking, Bigfoot-looking creatures. Big. Uh,
Yeah.
there's giant-looking humanoids. There's giant-looking, cartoon-looking humanoid. Just where you wouldn't, when you look at it, you
There's
just
an
can't
interesting
understand.
point.
You just can't
Uh,
understand why it looks like that.
yeah.
It just maybe because it's a giant, it just has a different feature, like I
Right.
don't know. It's just fucking mind blowing. People fighting everywhere, all these different creatures fighting everywhere. Skull with looking tribal giants or whatever coming out of
Wow.
that are holding littler skulls in their fucking hands.
Wow.
Smaller 24 footers, they must
The
be
skulls
because
are a
they look
repeating
humanoid
theme here.
and they're
Yeah.
holding skulls up to these bigger giants. And, and,
Holding the
and
skull up in an
yes,
offertory type thing, you're saying.
littler, hairy, Bigfoot looking ones are
Uh huh.
holding skulls up to the
To
bigger
the
Bigfoot
larger
looking
giants.
ones, to the larger looking.
Wow.
And I mean they're
Amazing.
like they look like they're like get back. I mean,
Yeah.
and like they're in a fight.
Wow.
And so I'm looking
What
at
a
this.
scene.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and I'll kind of shorten the story. I get home. You know,
Yeah.
she asked me if I wanted a copy of that chip. I said, yeah. I said, yeah. Give me a copy. Give me a copy.
So in other words, you said, let me have a copy of those pictures and those little films, and let me check that out, man.
In
And
the
so,
meantime, her girlfriend already called her mom and said, I had a terrible time. Um, they seen giants
oh,
and I'm freaking out. So she's like, do you need to go to the hospital? She tells her mom, I don't know. So she gets off the phone, tells her girlfriend, my friend, this
yeah,
is what my friend told me, that she talked to her mom and told her mom, and that she told her mom, we got pictures. I'm
yeah,
like, no, 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 don't do this. Don't do this. Don't
yeah.
give the
Let's
pictures up to
not
her
just
mom.
talk about this too much
I'm
yet.
like,
Yeah.
don't show the pictures to her mom. We don't know what the fucking what her mom can do. We might lose the picture. No, 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 no. Give me.
Well,
So
yeah,
she's like, you know
yeah.
what, Rich? She's like, I'm not going to give you a copy. I'm going to give you the chip. So she pulls her phone card chip out, gives it to me. So I got it on chip. I get home. I put it into another bigger chip where you can download it to a USB. So I made a
Uh-huh.
couple copies of it. So I had it. You know what I mean? I'm not losing this motherfucker. So
That makes sense.
yeah,
So
yeah,
much.
yeah. So
Yeah. Move on.
in the meantime, my mind's blown. I'm like, oh my God. So in the past, I did some Google work for
Right.
the police department, FBI in Arizona. We went on a hike. Uh, we found some different cell phone stuff that belonged to a girl that was missing, supposedly. Well, I showed the FBI how you could see her laying on the ground on Google Earth, and they found it or did or whatever. You know what I mean? So, and
It's
they were
amazing.
very amazed by it. So I was good at Google
Sure.
Earth because they asked me to do another a case,
Right. So what you're saying
and
there
then I
is
didn't
you've
do
got a
any more.
good eye, and when you
Yeah.
get on Google, you can find some stuff.
So I know
And
how to
that's
find
awesome.
skulls on Google
Not
Earth. I
everybody can
have,
do that, but that's awesome.
I have proof of doing that case for them. I have people that know that I've done
Sure.
that personally. Um,
Totally makes
yeah,
sense.
so I figured to myself, Joe, if I did that for them, if there's these giants that I have on picture and the chief talks about, if they're this big on my picture, I'm like, I should be able to see these on Google Earth
Exactly.
because they're bigger than a house. They're taller than
Exactly.
a lot of these giants are
Yeah.
bigger than a fucking house, man.
Well, and we'll
Taller
put
than
a
a
pin
house.
in it right there as much as
Yeah.
Google will let you see.
And you
But
can tell
you're
in the
right.
picture. You
There,
look at the
it is
fucking picture, you're
absolutely
like,
worth
dude,
searching. And
I
I
know that is
say that,
motherfucker.
yeah.
This ain't right. That son of a bitch is kicking 60 fucking feet or so. This is not right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like, how
So
could you not
yeah,
see a 60-foot dude? But it's hard to
yeah,
imagine, though, that the trees there on this island are very tall.
yeah.
And
Look
when
how
you say, well, how could something hide? And I want to put just one more
we're
little
talking
idea in
probably
your
400 or 500 feet these trees get on that island. They're ancient
well, it could
trees.
be, and also there's another factor that I've looked into there, and there are caverns, underground caverns. And here's going to be a fun fact about giants. The
When
reason they get away with not being discovered is they live underground.
yes, when the
And they
chief
come
was
out
talking
when
to
they
me
can.
that night, like there's little things I left out. Like he told me that there's a
Uh huh.
certain area you can go and you can look
You're
down.
saying the chief told you this. You telling me?
Yes, there's a certain
Okay.
area you can go over by the mountain area around the bend, and you can look down into a cave where you can see the giants have cities down there. And I said, the giants got cities down there. And he goes, oh, yeah.
That is
He goes, I believe the
fascinating. Oh
cities are
my
bigger than
goodness.
our cities. I
So the
was
chief
like,
told you there are caves you can look down and actually perceive
yeah.
giant cities where they live
Oh, yeah.
underground.
And I didn't say
And,
KK or, you know what I mean? I was just like, I'm feeding this shit in, like, what the fuck?
oh well,
And I
there's a
got
ridiculous
somebody that
amount
I'm
of
with
lore about it.
that her, which is her lover, is scared. And I feel for my friend because
Right.
her friend's fucking scared. Her lover's scared.
These people are terrified because this is
Yeah,
a terrifying thing to
yeah,
see, man. It's not like,
yeah.
you're seeing a
So yeah,
monsters,
so
man. I
I
mean,
go
that's
get
just like,
that chip. I got
hey,
that chip.
welcome
I
to your
made
nightmare.
copies.
Yeah.
I get on fucking Google Earth. I think, fuck it, I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
get on Google Earth and I'm gonna see if I can't see them. I found them within 10 minutes. I knew exactly what I was looking for because I have
Exactly.
pictures of
Yeah.
what I'm seeing on the pictures, but the pictures are clear. You can see them. You can see their face. You can see shit.
Right. Here you're
And
seeing a fuzzy representation, but you can tell that that's a giant man if I've ever
yeah,
seen one standing in
yeah.
the tree.
So I'm
Yes.
I'm zooming around. I went to the top of the
Huh?
mountain, above
Right.
where the chief told me the cave was,
Right.
right up above it on the top of the mountain. And I found this patch that was tore out. And I'm like, there's no road to that. What the fuck is that? I zoom in, and I shit you not, there's a giant fucking standing there as clear as can be. And I can
Yeah.
see he's a hairy one. So he's one of those Bigfoot looking fucking giant creatures.
Exactly.
The chief
And
told
he
me
just
of
happened
all
to be out in the
kinds.
open and
The,
got caught
the,
by the
the chief
satellite
told me
shot.
that his father's father told him about back when Japan embarged on that island, and that they weren't there to fucking fight somebody else. They were
Yeah.
there. They came on that island, he thinks, purposely to go at those giants, and the giants chased them off the fucking island into the
And that's
shore.
how that goes,
He
isn't it?
said that
Yeah.
his father told him
Uh
that
huh.
his dad watched this shit go down, and fucking there was giants standing out in the water,
Uh huh.
and the boats were fucking shooting at him from the boat trying to kill the giant, and the
Right.
giants were catching fire from getting hit by all the missiles or whatever, and fucking but they chased these fucking the Japan
Yeah.
right off the island, and he said there's still skeletons laying out in the water from it.
Let me fry that down. So what you're saying is giant warships, and I'm
No,
talking about
no, 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 no,
design.
no.
No.
Japan,
Let me describe this. Let
Japan
me describe this.
warships. Yeah, giant
Yes,
warships are
there
more.
were warships are giant. If you've
Yeah.
never been on one, they are enormous and they have big guns. And what you're telling me is they were shooting at these giants, and it was
He
not
said
going
they were
well. They're not
all over
winning.
the island with the ships, and the
Yeah.
giants chased the military, the Japan military, right
So
off
in
the
other
island.
words, these soldiers thought they were going to take over the island, and they ended up running back to their boats, being chased by giants off the island.
He
And of course,
believes.
there are accounts of
He
this, and
believes.
this is
Yeah,
yeah, this is common knowledge.
he believes that they weren't going there to set a spot to, shoot at
So
other
what you're saying is you
poor
don't believe they were
people.
going there
He
for a
believes that
military
they were
objective. They
there
were
to
going to kill giants.
come after those giants. Is what he
Yeah.
believes. Like take over Salem's Island.
Wow, man.
It didn't happen.
Amazing
They
story, my
chased them the
brother.
fuck off, dude.
This is the most amazing story I've ever heard in my life. I've heard a lot of stories, but by far, this is the most amazing account.
At that
And I'm
point,
just so
he
excited you chose to
says,
share it, my brother.
at that point, he says, us tribal members appreciate that because we didn't want to lose our island.
Right,
Is what my father told me that his father told him.
right. The chief's telling
They
you
didn't
what
want
his
to lose
father.
their island, so
Yeah,
they were okay with the Giants doing that, and they were happy about the Giants did that.
yeah.
I'm like, wow. I mean, there's a lot of little licks in there that he's
Well,
told
there are
me.
many layers to this
So
onion, and
so
we're
I
just
get
getting
on
the
Google
first
Earth.
one. Yeah,
I about 10 minutes later, I find one. Looking around, I'm finding all kinds of them, all kinds of giants all over. I'm zooming in. I'm taking screenshots. Like, what the fuck? To match them up to the giants that I have
yeah.
on my
Awesome,
ship. And
awesome.
I'm looking and going, okay. And now I'm starting to count the numbers. I'm seeing a majority of this one. I'm seeing a majority of that
Right.
one. I'm not
Different
seeing,
sizes. Yeah.
yeah, I'm seeing a lot of these and a lot of these, but I'm seeing
Mhm.
those, but not the same as each other.
Right.
Like the hairy ones, they're pretty much all the same, but there's some on her camera that the hairy creature comes down and he'll have normal feet that look like our feet, and you can see his feet in the picture, and you can see that they're normal looking feet. The other one standing next to him,
So you're telling me this is a hairy creature, a giant creature, but his feet look like human feet,
yes, the
is what
one
you're
next
saying.
to him in the same picture,
Uh
it
huh.
looks identical, but his feet are claws,
Wow.
almost like They stick
So
out
there are
almost like
variations
fucking
even within
turkey
this one kind of Nephilim
claws.
on what kind of feet they can have. They can be human
They
or
have
they can
like
be
fingers
beast
coming
claws.
off their toes, like almost like a fucking turkeys. How they got the finger going to the
Like a
claw.
claw, a raptor claw, like a, yeah.
Totally
Wow, that
different.
is crazy,
Standing
man.
next to each other, look identical creature, but there's different feet on one and then the other one. So that got me thinking, and I thought to myself, that must be the chief, how he said that they were breeding.
Yeah.
Because he said the hairy ones like to breed a lot. All they want to do is breed, eat, and they're mean. And they can disappear. That's what he
Wow.
told me.
That's just
So if
crazy.
that hairy one breeds with a 24-footer, what do you think's gonna happen? Or a 24-footer decides to breed with a, what
Whatever,
do you think's
yeah.
gonna happen?
We don't know how all that works, but what's
So
for sure
yeah.
sounds like you sure got a real
Oh,
fun house
so
of monsters there, man.
at the fire, he tells me, he says, "Hey," he says, I says, "Hey," to him. I said, "Hey." He says, "Hey," back. I said, it was funny because I'd say "Hey" to him, and he'd go, "Hey," right back. Um,
That's cool.
so I said, "Hey." He says, "Hey," back. I said, I asked him about, oh God, what was I just gonna tell you? I was asking him about the stuff, different culture things that happened. He was telling me,
Right.
about the giants barn baiting and all that. And then he tells me that there's several more creatures that island people here talk about, but he or anybody he knows hasn't seen those ones with their own eyes. But
Interesting.
on the island, they talk of other creatures, some that
Such
come out of the
as,
water,
does he give you any description of these creatures? Did he give you anything?
some that come out of the water, he even says. So I'm like,
Something that comes out of the water. A giant creature that comes out of the water.
some kind of creature.
Oh, fun.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what? And I like part fish, and he said some of them.
Oh, good. So different kinds. So there's
I don't
that.
know, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, so he tell I
Oh, it just
I
keeps getting
we're
better.
sitting there at the fire. He's telling me all kinds of shit. He's telling me
No.
that have you ever seen I'm well, I bring up things like you guys got bear, you got this, you got that, you got this. He's telling me what kind of animals they kind of do have there.
Uh-huh.
They have animals that we don't even have here that we don't even know what the fuck are. There's some kind of animal with a snorkel looking fucking thing. Uh, uh, he said a
Wow.
name for it. I'd never ever heard of that.
Wow.
Birds that we just never seen, never had here in America.
And these are giant birds, probably. They're not,
Yes.
she's not talking about a little parrot. He's talking about
No,
big things.
no, just regular birds that,
Okay.
yeah.
All
But there
right.
is giant birds, he assumes, because of that one. And
Yeah.
and so, he's telling me different stories like that
Right.
and about the girl that got pregnant and
Wow. Yeah. I remember
shows me a grave, showed me a grave, which is right by the village, and you just walk over, and it must be almost 30 feet long, maybe. It's got to at least be 20. And then there's one next to it that's about 2.5 to 3 feet, but it's really wide. And he
that.
says, I'm not sure if that's the baby, he said, but it might be. Because that was his father's time, I assume.
Where they got rid of it. That was his
Where they got
father
rid of the
buried
baby.
on the 25-footer.
Yep.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Showed me a picture of his
Amazing.
father. He did have a picture of his father. It looked like one of those old time cameras,
Uh
as you
huh.
grow up, how we had the older kind. It was black and white, and,
Right.
and it was like a longer picture, and it looked like almost like one of those, projector picture
Right.
screens or something.
Old school.
Yeah, that was cool. He explained to me that this was a key thing. I said, well, how do you think and why do you think there's giants up there? And I said, is it just because? I mean, he says the tribal people of the island, not just his tribal people, but the tribal people of the island believe that there's a witch doctor up there that's creating beings, giant beings.
Oh, very interesting.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, he's and he's like, You have a deer, and he points at me. They call it a deer. He goes, I know. And I said, yeah, an animal? A deer, you mean, in the woods? He goes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I heard of a deer before. And he
yeah.
goes, and I've seen what a deer looked like before at the, from the library and in its main town. And he told me that they have 30-foot fucking deer there.
That is incredible.
Now, could you
30-foot
imagine?
tall deer.
You imagine when you go in the woods, deers take off and they run. They run, fucking boom.
Oh gosh,
If
yeah.
something
Well,
scares
they
that deer
can
over
leap
there
incredible
and he
distances.
runs, he's gonna step on you. You ain't even gonna know the motherfucker did.
What? Right?
I mean, think about it. I'm like,
Well,
oh my god, how can you feel safe here? How can you
this
feel
is
safe even asleep?
this is such an amazing story, Mr. Oates. We are over 2 hours.
Nice. So, yeah, we'll definitely do another show. Anyways, I get on
Absolutely.
Google. I'm seeing
I
all
am
kinds of giants,
fascinated. It is the
and then
most
I met
fascinating
Joe here.
story I've ever heard in my life. And I
Yeah.
can't imagine anybody wouldn't just be dying to hear this. And I know there's some really cool people interested in this story, and we can't wait to get it to
Well, we'll
them.
definitely do another interview, Joe.
Absolutely, sir. And I'm so excited to get to be a part of this. And it's just, man, we've had a fantastic interview. And I have just
Awesome.
learned some amazing facts here.
Hell yeah.